Guys. So with the recent KGF 2, KGF Chapter 2 mania going on, so I just wanted to make this video about mass hero worship films, which I'm not a big fan of usually. But KGF 2 was a really good movie. So first of all, to put it out of the way and clear it from this video, KGF 2 was an amazing movie. I had a great time watching it, and it did do more things right than it did wrong. So I just felt that if the same things could be applied to other mass hero worship movies too, then we could all have a better time watching them instead of sort of categorizing them as just movies that are loud and boring. So to begin with the do's, things that the movie got right. Number one, the gray shade. So when we say hero worship, it inherently means that the protagonist is going to be painted with a completely white shade. It means he can commit no wrong, do no sin. But alternatively, even in chapter 1, Rocky was not a good guy. We might be cheering for him, but he doesn't have people's best interests at heart. And I think the brilliant stroke was that this was maintained to KGF chapter 2. It was not like there was an artificial redemption arc forced into the plot just to make him more heroic. He remained the grey shade guy. So there was even a point where it was emphasized that Rocky may become or has already become KGF's new dictator. But again, this is a grey shade, not a black shade. So his dictatorship ways even invoke a sort of positive revolutionary feeling in even a mother who has lost her own son in Rocky's quest, and I kid you not, to conquer the other 8 freaking gold mines. So, but I'll come back to the number game later. To the sentiment. So I think the other mistake that they did not commit, thankfully, was adding this extra texture to the mom side story so that it gives texture to Rocky. And by that I mean to invoke that part of the mother son emotion, they used the same basic concepts they used in chapter 1. It is that she was poor, and it is that she raised Rocky all by herself. So there is no reason to further justify it, saying that this was the mother's childhood, this is what she was. A simple answer suffices: a drunkard and negligent husband. 3 is continuity. So this may seem like a point just for movies with sequels because there was no logical gap between chapter 1 and chapter 2. Didn't feel like a lot of time had passed. But if you think about movies like this, where the romantic leads might just suddenly be into each other after like a 4-minute romantic song, then you know what I'm talking about. So Reena's character in chapter 1 did find a lot of good things about Rocky. So it could have been that they tried to patch it up and not get too much into it in chapter 2, but no, everything starts off as it was. He has the same competitors. Reena feels the same guarded way about him as she did in chapter 1. And it just feels a lot more connected and rooted in chapter 1. Number 4 is the Octane. So a disclaimer before I go into the numbers is that I watched this movie in Kannada. It's because it didn't release in Tamil, my mother tongue, here in Bangalore, and I really wanted to be a part of that first day Scream Fest. So I would say that I understood 80% of the plot points by myself, and around 70% of the dialogues. So when they brought up the fact that so far Rocky has only conquered one of the gold mines, and there are a total of 9. I literally thought that I had misunderstood the dialogues, and I was like, what? And I turned to my friend and I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, 9. So I like the fact that instead of sort of creating and amplifying emotional quotients that are not there, they instead decided to exponentially increase the mass factor, which is what we all expected anyways. 5, personal loss. So despite the fact that Rocky's character was given this personal loss storyline as a motivation to why he became this person who wants to conquer the world, despite that, in most movies, when the hero faces one personal loss, that sadness kind of compensates for all the continuous success he keeps facing throughout the movie. But in this case, even towards the end, all could be lost for Rocky, and I think all was lost for Rocky. So I think they didn't shy away from giving the great Rocky Y like a personal loss. It made him feel very flawed and human, which he was. Now we come to the don't part, which is something that doesn't sit right with me. But I'll admit it mostly has to do, it 90% has to do with the fact that they made an epilogue which hints, nay, confirms the existence of a chapter 3. Here's why I think that's a bad idea. Number one, his legacy. Legacies are only a wow factor until we find out everything about a person that we're looking up to. So far, the story told from Rocky's childhood up to his death is pretty airtight. We almost know what he was doing on a daily basis. And like he himself says in the movie, why? I'm already dead. So don't bring up the dead. Just let them rest. Number two is sensibility. So the chapter three was going in the direction of taking in challenges given by the CIA. So they may have had interactions when he was alive, but the mass dialogues that we so adore right now, that we cheer for, work in a primarily basically Indian setting. So when you take that to Western countries like the US, I don't think that has ever been a good idea for such mass entertainers, putting our mass dialogues against that backdrop. Number three, the stakes. So the stakes were already lower in chapter two compared to chapter one because in chapter one he had to go against the system, being a victim of the system. I mean, he voluntarily became a victim, but he was still a victim. In chapter two, it's like he already has one system and he's going for a bigger system. So even if chapter three is able to exponentially increase that, increases the numbers, I don't think it would do much or add much value to the series. So, yep, those are my opinions on the movie, and DM me if you want to. So, yeah, that's the end of the video, and you know what to do: like, share, subscribe, comment. Bye.